Well, ticket prices came out for the World Cup, and they did exactly what I could have told you they were going to do. Just listen to me. Listen to this guy. All right? You got two greedy entities working together on this one. There was no way in hell you were ever going to get a cheap ticket to any World Cup game in the United States. Right? There is one governing principle in the world of American sports. Money is king. Now, you might think that's the governing principle in the world of soccer, in the world of football, in the Prem or whatever. It's not. You have no idea how much more extreme that can get. And my number one example is, you know how ridiculously cheap tickets are in Europe compared to here, right? And I want to be clear from the drop, I think the United States should change on this front. I am with you. As by you, I mean the fans that are upset by the incredibly expensive prices. I'm just not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. It's not going to change. It's going to be there. At least it's not going to change anytime soon. But as an American, when I go to matches in other countries, which I'm fortunate enough to do a good amount of times, the tickets are so cheap. And that's with the prices jacked up for like foreign buyers of the tickets. Right, the ticket price goes up in those circumstances. The tickets are just still so cheap. Tickets to sporting events in the United States are high. They are as high as they can possibly be. It is, instead of whatever's going on in Europe where there's like these, and I think in South America as well, there's this kind of conversation about atmosphere, and there is zero atmospheric consideration to ticket sales for anything in the United States. The Super Bowl usually just doesn't have a lot of fans of the teams playing in the Super Bowl. It has some of the wealthiest fans of those teams playing in the Super Bowl, and then just a lot of people that are really rich and wanted to go. But the NFL doesn't give a shit. The U.S. sports bodies, they don't give a shit. And so when you're scrolling through, hold on, I need to find it. You're scrolling through your social media, right? It pops up on your phone, and then all of a sudden you see the kind of like ticket map for the World Cup final. Doesn't surprise me at all. I'm surprised there's tickets available for under $10,000 right now for the World Cup final. Stunned. Because every entity in the United States is set up to just get the maximum amount of money out of every event. There is literally no other consideration. There's no allotment. There's no allotment for away fans or whatever. You know, in any major American sport, it is literally just, not are we going to fill the stadium? It is, how much money can we possibly get for playing this game at home? What is the right ticket price that we can charge that will get a bunch of people that'll buy the tickets? Even if it's not a completely full stadium, right, we'll get a bunch of people that'll buy those tickets and we'll make as much money as possible. That's the deal. That's the entire sporting apparatus in the United States. And with the World Cup rolling into town, despite the raffle and categories of tickets and allegedly guarantees of tickets that were going to be $60, good luck finding one of those 10 tickets that exists. That obviously to group stage matches, right? These are, you know, look at the amazing price of just $10,670 to be lower bowl at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey to watch the World Cup final. It's just, it was never going to, it was always going to be this way. FIFA wants to suck up every dime that's not nailed down. And the entire U.S. sports apparatus is just set up to just milk people for money. That's how it works. Now, of course, scalpers are a big part of that, and scalpers in the U.S. have it down to an art form. And that is mainly because there are no laws or anything that kind of in place in a serious way to prevent that. And what a scalper is, for people that might not know, somebody that buys the tickets with a pure intention of selling it for a higher price. And with something like the World Cup final, everybody fucking knows that all of those tickets are going to be sold. There's a bunch of people that are going to want to go to that match, right? Over 1 billion people, probably 2 are going to watch it on TV, which means there are definitely a bunch of people that are going to spend a bunch of money to be at that game. Okay. That means that if you can write an algorithm, you write a little app or something, you know, you apply for like 10,000 raffles or whatever, however it works. Because they do this with concerts all the time. They'll like have 150 different accounts that like apply for tickets or whatever. They get the tickets at the release price and then immediately triple it or whatever and then just list it for sale. They got a year to sell these tickets. And it is a long-term investment, triple the investment, virtually guaranteed to hit. Because the closer you get to the game, the more desperate people are going to be, particularly if they feel like it's their once-in-a-lifetime chance to see, I don't know, something like Lionel Messi playing in a World Cup final, like it would have worked in Qatar, right? But in the United States, there are no guardrails for this. So all of the prices of all of the games are going to be jacked up by a bunch of people, creating, in some cases, kind of simulated demand by instantly buying all of the tickets and then reselling them for just more money. What scalpers do is they essentially hold the sporting event hostage. You can't get any of the tickets right at the start because they buy all of them instantly. And then they resell them for more money, and then it just repeats this process, maybe sometimes multiple times. You'll have opportunistic people that will buy it low and sell high like they're playing the stock market, right? They've watched like Wolf of Wall Street or something, and they're trying to do that with World Cup tickets. Now, FIFA's held its ground. This is an ESPN article, right? FIFA defends the World Cup prices after fan group criticism. They've defended it with really highbrow stuff. The pricing model adopted generally reflects the existing and developing market practice and our co-hosts for major entertainment and sporting events, soccer included. We're focused on ensuring fair access to our game for existing but also prospective fans. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Shut up. You know what annoys me more than doing something shitty? It annoys me is to pretend that you're not. If you came out and you went, look, we organized a tournament. We know how many people want to go to it. We are pricing the tickets at a price at which they will sell because it is our right to do so. I would respect them a lot more because all of that is true. And there is kind of a market imperative. Right? If you live in a world where like market sets the price, right? A bunch of people want to go to this match. Well, then the tickets are more expensive. We're going to raise the price. Or raise the price some more. You really, really want to go to this match? Well, guess what? That's the price that you're going to have to pay. That at least makes more sense to me if you're transparent about that is your only goal. Because that is really what it appears like is their only goal. They've introduced these different category systems, different raffles. They've turned it into like filing your taxes in the United States level of complicated here to try and get a World Cup ticket, which is already annoying. But my sneaking suspicion is the reason they've done that is to try to disguise their naked, wanton need to just get as much money as possible out of this, which is their right. I don't organize the World Cup. They do. But they try to pretend that they're focused on ensuring fair access for existing and prospective fans. And, they emphasize they're offering group tickets starting at $60, where it will retain ring-fenced allocations set aside for specific fan categories, and these allocations will be set at a fixed price. The FIFA resale platform will provide fans looking to sell or purchase tickets on the secondary market with a safe and secure method to do so as permitted by U.S. legislation. Right, this is the same legislation that allows scalpers to pop the fuck off, which is exactly what they're going to do with the FIFA resale platform. The fact the secondary market activity is legally open renders it necessary to have a ticketing model that reflects their responsibility to provide access to fans, while at the same time ensuring as much value as possible is retained for distribution into the game globally. I mean, this shit's so wordy, it sounds like it was written by ChatGPT. I'm not a psychologist, but the person that wrote this is self-important, or this was written by a boardroom of 25 people that are getting paid too much. The level of not being able to communicate in a succinct way with brevity in words and strings of words that people that speak the English language will be able to understand comfortably. It doesn't exist in this statement. It continues. As a not-for-profit organization, kiss my whole ass. Anyways, the revenue FIFA generates from the World Cup is reinvested to fuel the growth of the game. It is also reinvested to make sure that Gianni Infantino's eyebrows are voluptuously plucked. Men and women and youth throughout the FIFA's 211 member associations. Ah, yes. Remember, the reason we're gouging your eyes out for the prices of these tickets and then letting scalpers do the same even more is because we are giving the money back to the game. Ignore all of those news stories about widespread corruption and millions of dollars being pulled out of FIFA by creepy, old, sweaty dudes in suits. No, that's not what's happening. These are not the droids you're looking for. FIFA expects to reinvest more than 90% of its budgeted investments from 2023 to 2026 back into the game to boost global football development. Without FIFA's financial support, more than 50% of FIFA's member associations could not operate. The entire last part of the statement is a why you should let us gouge your eyes out, which would be okay to me, right? I hate that they're able to call themselves a nonprofit, at least in their own mind, right? I hate that they're able to lean in so heavily to the fact they support the game. But some of what they're saying here is true. Some of what they are saying here that a lot of FIFA member nations would not fully be able to operate. The game would not be as big as it is, right? It wouldn't be as supported. There wouldn't be as many fields or whatever because FIFA does build those fields. The actual reason they do is because every country in FIFA has the same voting power. When you learn about FIFA politics, shit just hits the fan. So basically, the way you stay in power as the president of FIFA, a la Gianni Infantino, is you go to all of these smaller nations that need basic infrastructural support for the game, and you build fields. You build fields, you pay for coaching courses, you do whatever, so that the Federation in the Cook Islands goes, you know what? They gave us 3 fields and 6 pence in a barrel of wheat. We'll vote for you, right? And that, so they do a lot of that stuff. I am skeptical, because I think a lot of the reason they do that stuff is to stay in power. And why do they want to stay in power? Because they're making a lot of fucking money in power. It's the fun part about nonprofit organizations is they still pay their staff wages. So even if you're not pulling money out of the coffers in an illegal way, you're still getting paid a shitload of money. I don't know what is Infantino's wage. I don't know. But it's not just him. It's usually not the main guy that's the worst, right? If I learned anything from watching all those investigative reports about FIFA and guys like Jack Warner from Trinidad and Tobago and stuff, it is usually those other guys who you don't really hear about that are running like areas. Like Jack Warner was running the Caribbean Federation or whatever. Those guys are raking shit in, right? And now he's like king of Trinidad and Tobago. They refuse to extradite him to any other country. He can't leave Trinidad and Tobago anymore, but he's still there because of all the illegal shit that he did. But he has so much money. How are they going to stop? They can't, right? That's where a lot of this money's going. I've gotten a little distracted though, because the main point is I would respect them more if they went, it's kind of our thing. You want to go to it? We know a bunch of people want to go to it. This is how much we're going to charge. Maybe that's just the American in my brain, but I would at least understand and respect that a lot more than the, whoa, we really want to make this an inclusive event for everybody. I think everybody acknowledges the World Cup would be better if you just filled the stadium with people from those countries. But that's never really happened. And in a World Cup that is primarily played in the United States, at least the majority of host cities, with the laws and the way that sports work in the United States, you're going to end up with a bunch of Super Bowl-like atmospheres, right? People that maybe don't have as strong of an emotional investment. The atmosphere outside the stadium will definitely be better than than the atmosphere inside the stadium. I can guarantee that.